Belle Vitale, I feel like it is just flying by. I really hope that everybody is feeling incredible and seeing the progress that you wanted to see, that a lot of those symptoms have improved or cleared up altogether. Obviously, we're not done yet. So first things first, let's just talk housekeeping and what we need to do, obviously going into phase 3. So this weekend is a great time to do your photos, do your measurements, check your weight. Obviously, that's so that you can do your formula and make sure that you're in the right bracket going into phase 3. Because a lot of people will have lost weight in phase 2. If you lost a bunch in phase 1, keep in mind I mentioned in the videos you might not lose a lot in phase 2 if you lost a lot in phase 1. Doesn't mean it's not working. Doesn't mean you won't lose any in phase 3. It's just kind of how our bodies work, that yes, you can lose a lot up front, but slow and steady is what is going to win the race, and we really need to be okay with that. We've got to let go of this mentality of like, I need to drop 5 pounds every week. If it's not moving that much, it's not working, right? Sometimes it's a half a pound. Sometimes it's a pound. Sometimes it doesn't move, but the inches come down, or the inflammation goes down, or the sleep improves, things like that. So just keep all those things in mind. But yes, like I said, let's make sure we're doing our formula so that you're in the right bracket going into phase 3. Make sure you read your guidelines for phase 3. Everything's pretty similar to phase 2, except that our carb ratio changes a little tiny bit. I had seen some questions come in actually in my other group, my paid group, about like the macros changing and why do my containers not really go up a bunch? Why am I not getting a bunch more purples and yellows? When I play with these macros the way we've done in Belle Vitale, and there's like a 5% difference from week to week or phase to phase, that's not much, just so you know. Like, you might think 5% is a lot, but in this case, it is not. And sometimes it's like barely the adjustment of a container. Like, I might give you an extra green, and then great, now your carbs are up. Or if I gave you an extra yellow or purple, it would have thrown the carbs too high or something like that. So just keep that in mind. There's a lot of things I take into consideration. One of the things taken into consideration for phase 3 was, the more balanced our blood sugar is and the more we reestablish that insulin sensitivity. There's been so many people who are like, I'm just not as hungry. I'm having a harder time finishing my containers. So I pay attention to all this feedback when I create it and then get us to our macros. So I want to make sure that we're not overdoing it on the containers that leave us feeling the most full when we entering in a phase where you're already feeling pretty satiated and like you're having a harder time getting some of those containers in. So just all the things to keep in mind, just because I had some people, like I said, ask about it in the paid group. Other than that, I would love to hear how you're feeling as we come to the end of phase 2. I would love to know if you have any questions, if you want to share any progress photos, that would be fantastic as well. Make sure you're checking in on that guidebook. Make sure you're watching the video in the program materials about going into phase 3. The only way you're going to get your badge as you complete phases is to make sure you've also watched, not just done all the workouts, but you've also watched the videos that I've done for you, because I'm giving you really valuable information in those videos as well. So use the weekend to prep yourself for next week. Grocery shop, meal prep, look at meal recipe ideas. What is it that you might want to make for the week? Make sure you're set up and you're good to go. And I know a lot of questions are already starting to come into people's mind about like, what are we going to do at the end? What program do we go on to? Do we do another round? And I promise we're going to cover that probably as we come to the end of the second week of phase 3. We're just not there yet. We still have 4 weeks to go. It would be like starting 4 weeks for everybody and on day 1 asking like, what are we doing at the end? Well, we're just getting started, right? So we're just getting started on phase 3. So we've still got 4 weeks to go. So let's stay focused on the goal and the plan ahead of us. Also, it would be a great time to write down, like really sit and think about what has improved for you. Because sometimes when we get into the flow of everything, we stop acknowledging it and we kind of go back to just acknowledging like, this isn't perfect, or that's not perfect, or, well, this one thing hasn't improved. But really there's like a laundry list of things that have improved. So make sure you take the time to acknowledge those things, appreciate those things, celebrate those things. And then the one other thing I want to say is this. Yes, we are focusing on lifestyle habits, nutrition, fitness, stress management, obviously our supplementation to help balance and improve the health of our hormones. That does not mean that you will never have another hormonal symptom again. Right? Like our bodies are these very complex machines. There are chemical reactions happening in our bodies all day, every day. There are all these chemical processes happening. And we're doing the best that we can to control the things that we can. But that doesn't mean that there's not just life happening, right? Like ladies, we go through stages. That's just a given, right? We go from not having our periods, right, as little girls, and then eventually puberty hits and we get our cycle, and then you have years and years and years of that, and then probably without even knowing it, we move into perimenopause, and perimenopause can last 10 to 15 years for some people. Other people, it's a shorter, faster, more intense process, and some people, it's a longer, drawn-out process. So, like, you could be in your 30s and your body might be starting to go into that process. Maybe you're in your late 30s. That process is going to take place no matter what. Perimenopause, menopause, that is going to take place. Our goal is to make that phase of our life as easy as possible, right? To have as few symptoms as possible as we go through that. But as you go through perimenopause and menopause and estrogen drops and progesterone drops and testosterone drops, sometimes you're going to feel some things. And same thing, like you could be in your childbearing years. It doesn't mean that as we go through this process and things rebalance, sometimes as things rebalance, the scales tip in one direction and they still have to tip in another direction before they settle back here. So like while they're doing this, right, as we're going through Valvital and we're working to balance it, they might not have landed here yet. So you might still be experiencing some things. So just keep all of that in mind. But nonetheless, keep crushing it. Share with me all of your wins, and if you have any questions, then let's keep going.